Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Joe Tyrrell, and welcome back to the runoff. It's it's the 4th of September, the first race of September, the Dutch Grand Prix, won by Max Verstappen in pretty comprehensive fashion in the end, never really in doubt. Joining me as ever is Toby. Cameron's still on holiday, on his jollies, but Toby, how are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you, Joe. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. I'm good after a nice, entertaining Dutch Grand Prix, which it's safe to say I wasn't expecting because I think last year it was possibly the worst race of the season, but this year it's thrown up a pretty good one.
Yeah, there was a lot of action. Um, like you said, last year wasn't particularly great. There was a lot of, I think the DRS kind of addition where it was off the banking heading into the final straight added to the action because obviously that made it a bit easier to overtake a turn one. So I think that will be a big thumbs up from me. Well done, Formula One, for finally maybe giving some action to the Dutch Grand Prix. I know it's been a while, but last year was a bit so, shall we say? But yeah, I think it was good. It had drama. It had cars stopping on track, which we always love because it adds just an unknown dimension to a race. But overall, I think everyone will be very happy, and obviously the Dutch army will be very happy with the result as well.
The Dutch army, who were out in their masses this weekend, will have enjoyed that a lot. A Max Verstappen pole, a Max Verstappen victory. It couldn't have gone much better for Red Bull, really, could it? Well, it could if Sergio Perez had a better race, but for Max, it was perfect.
Yeah, for Max, it was just there was a few shaky points. I think probably he'd even admit that. But overall, on the Max side of things, it was a very kind of expected race. I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, he'll get a pole," which he did, and then it'll be comfortable from there. But things didn't play out as expected, which, like we said just a minute ago, added to the drama. But Red Bull dominant as ever. Perez didn't have the best race, but I believe, sorry, finished P5. I've got the results up next to me because I keep forgetting. But fifth for Perez isn't too bad in the whole scheme of things when looking at how Ferrari did as well.
Yeah. I just don't think P5 looked great for Perez, which we'll come on to later. But I want to just talk about the race itself. Now, we've said already it was a much better race than last season's. Last season's Dutch Grand Prix was a one-sided snooze fest, to be honest. But this year, I thought it was a real tactical battle, and that was probably helped by the safety cars, would you say, and the yellow flags?
Yeah, the safety cars definitely threw a spanner in the works. Pardon the pun. I didn't mean that for once. Um, but it definitely added to the confusion because a lot of in the start of the race there was very high degradation on the soft tires, which means a lot of teams had to completely change their initial plan. And with that happening within the first 10 laps of the race, the plans were already changing. I think at one point we heard Ferrari already talk about Plan C very early on. But it's just the safety car adds to that, and I think if there wasn't a safety car or as many yellow flags, I feel like the race could have panned out very differently.
Yeah, 100%. Mercedes, they were probably on the receiving end of those safety cars because they've looked really good this weekend. And in the end, that extra safety car we got with Bottas at the end, that sort of not messed their race up, but it limited what they could have done this weekend.
Yeah, they looked really good this weekend. FP1 and FP2. It's obviously just practice, but they still look very strong. Yesterday,
Normally they're so weak on a Friday, aren't they?
yeah, like they're normally pushing maybe like like position 6 to 9 in practices. Yesterday in quali, George Russell didn't look particularly great. So then when he performed really well today, it was quite nice to see. But the second safety car where Hamilton had Verstappen breathing down his neck straight away. He knew, he said on team radio, it's going to be very hard to keep him behind.
Yeah.
And I think probably even before they finished the start finish line, or the finish line, sorry, because they're different. Yeah, Verstappen was already past him, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just the pure straight line speed of that Red Bull was just too much for Mercedes to cope with. But Mercedes still did better than Ferrari today, which is going to definitely be a positive for them.
Yeah, Mercedes picking up points on Ferrari, I believe. Again, it's something we discussed last week. It's something we discussed in our video 24 hours ago. The gap is coming down each week. It's now down to 30 points, that gap to Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. That's what they're playing for now, really, isn't it? Mercedes and Ferrari, that P2 spot in the standings.
Yeah, I believe I'll quickly check, but from what I looked at earlier, I think it's down to 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, 30 now, and it's just it. Like we it seems as though we said it every week now that Ferrari season has already just tailed off, and it's
Yeah.
just keeps on going down. But it just happened again,
They had
and
another shocker.
it's becoming so repetitive to talk about, but it's something we have to mention and talk about because it's I don't want to say it's such a failure, but it seems to be.
Again, yeah. Well, they almost ended Sergio Perez's race early by leaving the wheel gun, the
Yeah,
nut gun, out just straight on the pit lane.
yeah.
So they could have dented someone else's race. Luckily, I think Perez was all right, but
But that was just one of two pit lane incidences as well. There
yeah.
was a
And then the unsafe release.
unsafe release where Fernando Alonso almost went right into the back of Carlos Sainz.
They really have at times screwed over Carlos Sainz, haven't they?
And Charles Leclerc in other races as well.
Yeah, they're not doing their drivers any favor,
No.
and it is. I said it in the video. If you'd have said to me maybe 2 weeks ago that Ferrari would be 30 points behind, Mercedes would be 30 points behind Ferrari, I'd have laughed at you because early season form, well, Ferrari were head and shoulders above, but they've capitulated so much in the last few weeks. And Mercedes, as I said, have just been so consistent.
Yeah, that's what I was going to jump in and say. Although Ferrari have struggled and have visually and visibly messed up, but they don't own up for anything, which is something I find quite weird.
They never admit to a mistake,
Yeah,
do they?
they'll make a mistake and they'll find an excuse around it, which is very odd. But the improvement of Mercedes is something that needs to be highlighted. Everyone thought that there would be a turning point. No one really knew where it would be, but they have been mega consistent since the start. And then
Yeah.
improving whilst being consistent has just pushed them through. Like George Russell is closing in. Oh no, he's not really closing in on I didn't want to say yeah. Well, no, sorry. I was gonna say he's closing in on Charles Leclerc,
He's
but
13 off Leclerc.
Leclerc and Perez are now tied, which I can't believe now. Look
That's
at
one.
that.
That's one DNF.
Yeah. And George Russell is only 13 points behind them.
Yeah, it
And
could
I
all
mean,
change very quickly.
Lewis Hamilton's even closing in on Carlos Sainz. He's only 17 behind.
Yeah, it for Perez in particular, and we'll mention Perez in the winners and losers. It has gone south really quickly, and they need to look over their shoulders because they're not going to win this season. They've got to make sure they finish as high as possible and get some results together.
Whether they will be able to though is a concern.
Yeah,
it just seems to be Verstappen is just unbeatable at the moment.
Yeah, he is unbeatable at the moment. You're absolutely right.
Hi guys, still in Greece, still not on the podcast, but I did watch the Dutch Grand Prix like I did the Belgian Grand Prix last week, so I thought I'd send across just a few of my thoughts. Apologies if the audio is not very good, but let's just go on with it, I guess. But I'm sure Joe and Toby have said most that needs to be said, but I think Max Verstappen was probably quite helped by Red Bull's sister team, AlphaTauri, with Yuki Tsunoda obviously pulling to the side of the road, coming to the pits and then going back out again, bringing up the VSC, and Verstappen could have a pit stop. But I think the whole thing is just underlined by why Mercedes didn't pit Lewis for the softs when they did for George. It would make sense just to do the same strategy for both. I guess it's splitting strategy gives you more odds of one of them working out, but it made sense to keep them the same. I mean, I don't think George would have been able to do much against Verstappen on the mediums if he'd kept the mediums on and kept track position, but maybe would have been able to, help Hamilton get along a little bit, and then maybe Lewis would have been able to hang on. But even still, Lewis could have pitted for the softs, come out, behind Verstappen and got the toe like Verstappen did, which ultimately won Verstappen the race. Not as dominant as we've seen Max in recent weeks, I guess. Mercedes looked like they had some real good race pace. Ferrari, on the other hand, well, you guys did a video on how they might finish third in a 2-horse race, and we saw kind of why here. Obviously, Mercedes with Hamilton made a Ferrari-like error, sort of what happened with Leclerc at Silverstone, where he didn't pit, and then the guys with the fresher tyres came past him, and he didn't finish on the podium, which is exactly what happened with Hamilton. But Ferrari, the stop with Sainz, just it's a calamity really. Didn't have the tyres, one set of tyres ready, and then it's just lost completely, and his race is pretty much done. So a shame for Carlos, but even still, he was miles off the pace at the start. I mean, you saw Verstappen and Leclerc sort of go off into the distance, and Sainz wasn't able to close that gap, and Hamilton was just there. So Sainz wasn't looking particularly quick anyway, but that certainly didn't help. But yeah, Verstappen, if we didn't know it already, that's the title done. I mean, we already said it after Belgium, but yeah, that's it, fully confirmed. George, good drive. I mean, Lewis, it was a good drive until that moment, but yeah, ultimately, I think it was a very interesting race. I did have it on while I was watching the football as well, and I think it was more of a spectacle than I imagined the Dutch Grand Prix would be, with how difficult it is to pass. But obviously the incident with Yuki helped, plus also the fact that Mercedes were coming and they were, putting in some really good lap times on those hard tyres. George and Lewis were just setting some really good purple sectors, purple laps on that hard tyre, and the race sort of came alive after a little bit of a boring start, for sure. So yeah, I think overall a good Dutch Grand Prix, which I wasn't perhaps expecting, and the home fans got exactly what they wanted with a Max pole and a Max win. So he's done it again there at Zandvoort. All the more reason for that to stay on the calendar next year, because the fans were orange fog everywhere, celebrating another Max Verstappen win.
As I said, we'll move on to our winners and losers now. Toby, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with a winner, or do you want to start with a loser?
Well, you mentioned Sergio Perez, and we
Yeah.
mentioned Sergio Perez a minute ago. So I'd say let's start with the losers.
We'll start with the losers because, well, we've mentioned both of them already. Sergio, I think they're sort of in the same bracket, so I'm going to mention them together. Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz are our losers this week. Sergio Perez, first and foremost, because I think this has not been a good look for him this race. You've had Max miles out in front, well, not miles out in front, but out in front, winning the race, and Perez being overtaken by the Mercedes. Even before all the pit stops and stuff, Hamilton had Perez comfortably, really. And it's just not a great look for him. And Carlos Sainz, he's had a nightmare weekend. So
yeah, so something I will say on Perez though, as much as it doesn't look good, I do feel like Mercedes' strategy allowed them to overtake Perez more so than him messing up, if that makes sense. I know he had a lockup at one point, but managed to stay ahead, I believe, and then Hamilton overtook him on the next lap.
Yeah,
or something like that. But Mercedes' strategy was so much better than Ferrari's and Red Bull's, because there was a point where it did look like Mercedes could even win, and everyone was talking about it on commentary and things. But 10 points for Perez, just although it's a 36-point haul for Red Bull, when Verstappen's getting 26 of them, and your second driver, who's meant to be competing as well, is down in fifth and is almost down to sixth. It isn't a good look. And then Carlos Sainz as well. I missed the last couple laps of the race, sadly, so I don't actually know why he went down from fifth to sixth on the final lap.
Yeah,
but that's just unless something major happened. I don't really know what to say apart from that. He was never really in contention for a race win. It didn't seem like he was going to get a podium.
especially not after the 12-second pit stop.
Yeah. So I think for Sainz, it was a mix of his own issues.
Would he have taken the penalty on the last lap? So maybe that's why he dropped. He took the
Probably,
penalty for
yeah.
the unsafe release on the last lap, so that's why
Yeah,
he dropped maybe.
that would make sense. I didn't I didn't know he had a
Yeah, no, I'm just
penalty.
trying to put it together, but I seem to remember that might have been the case.
Yeah, that explains it because he would have been if he didn't have a 5 second penalty, it would have placed him fifth, which is where he was.
Yeah. Rough weekend for Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz, and it's made worse by the fact that their teammates did all right. Max obviously did brilliantly, and Leclerc did okay. Probably,
Leclerc did good to finish third, I think.
yeah, to finish third, a good weekend for Leclerc. On to our winners now. Some better fortunes for two Brits. George Russell first up. I, yeah, just a really solid drive. He obviously benefited from Mercedes' decision late on to pit him, and it paid off.
Yeah, I think the way to look at it is his stats is that he's finished top five every single race apart from the British Grand Prix, and the fact he kept that up and has been on the podium many a time, you've just got to just you can't do anything apart from congratulate him. I don't think he's just I'm like fanboying a bit because I love everyone knows if you're listening to the podcast how much I love George, but he has just come into that Mercedes like team and has just driven his socks off in the car. It's just it's odd to see him finish ahead of Hamilton,
Yeah,
but he deserves it because of how well he drove. There was obviously that near collision though between
yeah,
the two of them, which
yeah. It almost got a bit tasty, didn't it?
yeah, but yeah, 18 points for Hamilton. No, for Russell. Sorry,
Yeah.
a second place.
And he closes the gap further on Perez and Leclerc. And the fact that he is only 13 points behind them is a full credit to the shift he's put in, the hard work he's stepped up, commendable performance, really. Because I didn't realize properly until a few weeks ago how close he was that he actually is. And that's because of how poor on the whole the Mercedes has been. But the drivers, I think Lewis as well, you've got to give Lewis some credit. The drivers got the absolute most out of it. And
Oh yeah,
they've absolutely maximized their opportunities because there's not really been many opportunities for them. And this weekend might actually feel like a missed opportunity because of how good they were this weekend.
well, when I was looking at my losers, I was thinking about Mercedes, but obviously Russell did really well. But they'll look at it positively, but there is no doubt that they'll think of it as maybe a missed opportunity for a win. Um, but like we mentioned prior, I feel like the safety car and yellow flags just didn't fall in their favour, which is part of racing and part of any sport really. So they'll be very happy, but also I think a bit upset.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think there was a opportunity there for them to get a 1-2 or a 2-3 with Hamilton as well, and they cost that. So maybe Mercedes could consider themselves losers, but Russell certainly is a winner for getting that P2 today. He was brilliant. And your second winner is Lando Norris. So yeah, I just wanted to mention my prediction last week was a Daniel Ricciardo P7. He's down in 17th. And Lando Norris is up in P7. So considerably better fortunes for the McLaren man.
Yeah, I chose him as my winner mainly because I think it was just a very solid drive. There wasn't too many winners, I don't think, in this race, apart from maybe Verstappen and Russell. I would have said Verstappen, but it was obvious that he's a winner. So I wanted to kind of the other one may have been Fernando Alonso, but I just felt like Lando Norris had a very solid drive, and it's still kept him as the best of the rest in the overall standings. He's ahead of Esteban Ocon and Alonso, and is carrying that McLaren team. They're 24 points behind Alpine now, but the fact that Lando Norris has 82 out of their 101, he has been unreal in the McLaren. So I think a very solid drive today. Nothing amazing, nothing special. A few overtakes here and there. I think he had a really, really good start. But then
sadly, he was up in front, up ahead of side by side with Russell.
Yeah, I think he got head on the banking, but then a few laps later, George Russell went past. But when you look at how well Russell drove and where he finished, you can't really complain too much. So yeah, I think one thing I was looking at was a potential loser, Mick Schumacher. Just a quick one. He started in P8 and finished P13 and had a very quiet race. So that was one that I was looking at. I know obviously we're done with losers.
Yeah,
But
no, I could no, I,
just
that's
popped
a
into
good
my head now.
that's a good pick out actually. And there have been a few rumors this week that he's out of the Ferrari Driver Academy. They were talking that on comms during FP3, I think, while I was on live blog duty. And they said they'd been taken out of the Ferrari Driver Academy. I've not seen anything official, I've just seen rumors. But yeah, not a great week
That
for
and
Mick.
then also the news of Ricardo having some teams speak to him. One which is rumored to be Haas.
Yeah.
It's not looking good.
It's not looking good for Mick at all. It appears the name has slightly worn off. We'll move on now. We'll look ahead to the next race, which is the Italian Grand Prix, which is always a fun race. I think Monza, probably one of my top 3 favorite tracks. Maybe it's not quite up there with the Bahrain outer loop, but Monza is a fun track, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a speed trap. It's just pure speed. Some like the turn one chicane.
Yeah, the
There's
chicane
there's
is
always
one of
there's
the most.
always drama there.
Yeah,
Like last year, let's hope there's not a repeat of last year where Verstappen came over the top of
yeah.
Hamilton.
That was a bit of a mad crash out.
Thank goodness for the halo.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll see a repeat of last year's drama. I don't think we'll be seeing Daniel Ricciardo on the
No, I
top of the
think Daniel
podium.
Ricciardo will be do well. He'll do well to get points.
Yeah, but like last year and the year prior, I believe Gasly won in 2020. Anything can happen, and the fact that it happened 2 years in a row where it wasn't a top team, shall we say? I'm not saying McLaren aren't a top team, but
Yep.
not a title contender.
Yep.
Proves that anything can happen, and it will be exciting. It always is, like you said.
Yeah, no, it is always exciting. The chicane, as you mentioned there, is actually one of my favorite turns. So yeah, big weekend coming up. Last season's was certainly eventful, so we'll hope for more of the same. Three races in a row as well. This is a big stint for the teams now. If they can come out the other side unscathed, then they've done pretty well, and they'll be pretty happy, won't they?
Yeah, a triple header is long.
Yeah.
I don't think we have another one this season.
No, but we have got a 3 week break after this.
Yeah, which
Was that because the Russian Grand Prix was removed? Maybe.
I think it could be. But I mean,
Either way,
after the 3 week break, it's a double header with Singapore and Japan, and then another double header, and then another double header. So it's 3 double headers to finish the season with small breaks in between each.
yeah, it is a long slog until the end of the season. It's sort of just grinding out results. Well, Max could be champion by Mexico,
Well,
but
yeah,
it's
I
a
think
long slog for everyone else.
I think it also makes it a bit exciting because if there's the pressure on the teams to keep up, and
Or
I
do it
think we'll
week in, week
see,
out.
I think we'll see some penalties being taken soon because teams will have to look at new power units or gearboxes or things. I may be making that
I
up,
mean, no,
but
it happens this time of year. It happened last
yeah.
season, and it's about picking those right moments.
I
to
mean,
take
we saw 8 penalties in Spa, which was ridiculous.
That played to that played to Red Bull's favor because it meant there were so many cars.
Wow.
behind them.
I mean, it was more that played to their favor, but also the fact that Hamilton went flying over Alonso.
Yeah, that was a pretty important thing to note as well. But predictions, Toby. We did it. You did it last week. I can't remember what I predicted, but Cam will fit in here hopefully, just to give a roundup of the predictions.
Right, me again, guys. Prediction time, because I'm the one with all the stats, all the knowledge on the predictions. So I thought I'd do it again this week. So an update on everything that happened in terms of our predictions for the Dutch Grand Prix. Toby got 1 correct score, which was Max Verstappen to win the race. So that means he moves on to 9 points overall. He The wrong ones he got were Leclerc pole and a double Alpine top 6. So Toby stays top on 9 points. Second is still me on 8 points now, because I got Max Verstappen win and Max Verstappen pole position correct. Incorrect, double McLaren top 7 as my surprise. And Joe picked up 2 points just like me to move him on to 7 points. He also predicted Max winning pole, and his incorrect was Ricardo top 7. So scores after the Dutch Grand Prix is Toby on 9, me on 8 and Joe on 7. Moving on, there's another Grand Prix, because triple header is exactly what the teams need. But whatever. So moving on to the Italian Grand Prix. And I'm just going to be boring. Max is going to get on pole. Max is also going to win. And the surprise is that McLaren will not score any points. That's me, guys.
But we are going to make ours, and we've had an all right week, haven't we?
You had a better one than I did.
Did I get 2 out of 3?
You got pole and winner, correct? Because you guessed
that's hard.
Verstappen for both. What a surprise! I guessed Charles Leclerc pole, which he wasn't far off, and Verstappen win. So I got a point with that. I don't remember did Cam do predictions last week.
Cam did do his predictions, I believe, but I can't remember what he's done.
I was going to say I forgot to look at Cam's predictions.
But he'll be in here somewhere giving his analysis of the race as well. But I'm going to make my predictions, and I'm going to go and just straight up say Max Verstappen will win, Max Verstappen on pole. I just think it's a fast track, and it's the straight line speed of the Red Bull. How can you not pick? Although they were saying all weekend, Leclerc has a habit of just pulling out mega laps in qualifying. How can you bet against the pure speed of that Red Bull with Max in it?
And the form he's in, I don't like. I will also say now I'm going pole and winner as Verstappen as well. Because you just, I know people might be like, oh, that's a cop out that you're copying Joe, but
let me see what the weather's like.
You'd be stupid not to. I doubt it'll be raining. It could be, however, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, well, teams will be hoping it'll be raining. Monza, let me get it up. Oh, you can't just search Monza in the Where's Monza near? Sorry, guys, we're just taking a little bit of a detour here to find out the weather. Monza, car racing track in Italy. Viale di Venado.
Rain on Saturday.
Oh, is it?
How
much rain?
I don't really know, if I'm honest. I'm just looking at it on Google. But it says sunny on Sunday.
I'm gonna go interesting then. I'm gonna go a Russell pole position and a Max win.
Changing it up.
Yeah, because Russell in the rain. That's what I'm saying. Russell in the rain. Max to win, and God, surprise are getting hard now. We'll go with an AlphaTauri top 8. Is that a surprise?
Yeah.
AlphaTauri
I'm not fussed.
AlphaTauri top 8.
But I'll stick with Verstappen pole and win. Because I think it's a safe bet and I want the points. Surprise. Double Alpine top 8.
Alpine top 8. Yeah.
I guess
they were close this week. They were very close this week.
I guess double Alpine top 6 last week.
Was it top 6 last week?
Yeah, so I mean, if you'll allow it with the top 8, we'll
allow that. Oh, tired. Sorry.
I don't think Cam would allow it. So I'm glad he's not here.
Yeah, Cam's gonna hopefully be giving you a rundown of the results. But yeah, thank you for joining me, Toby, for the second of our triple header.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be off to Monza. Well, I wish I was off to Monza.
Yeah, me too.
Be very nice. But we'll catch you next week for the Italian Grand Prix. In the meantime, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, follow the runoff on Spotify, and we will catch you next time.
Michael, No, Mike, that was so not right.